Greetings everyone, this is Lodrik, this is a game War in the Pacific Advanced Edition, and today we will watch the combat file of 28th January 1942. Normally I think in this turn we will have the next battle of Singapore, maybe also the last battle. Some cleanup operation I think in China, but we will see. Maybe some other smaller engagement and a lot of bombing in China. But so far I think the Navy operations are now near the end. First carrier fleet is on the way back to Rabul Truk, and the second carrier fleet is waiting that we can capture Singapore. And yeah, most of the fleet is waiting for Singapore. So let's go in and check what happened. Maybe we have some surprise. Maybe Dojo is coming with something and one try to think something. Maybe, I mean, we can at least hope that Dojo is doing something active and not only running away. Okay, one of the smaller bases we can conquer for free. We don't did something for this, just only by present of force nearby. The base change the owner. Here we have always some British, Dutch submarines nearby, so our forces always try to avoid or try to engage, depending if it's cargo or submarine hunter units. Here's the next Dutch submarine, but like I said before, especially in deep water, it's simply hard to find, and even if we find, even more hard to hit. And the next level is not even hit, also destroy something. It is simply really not the focus for the Japanese Navy. So the night was not really busy. The submarine tried to sink the patrol boat, but it's often not really easy for a submarine to hit something so small. I mean, the patrol boat is compared to a destroyer very slow, smaller but slower, so I think to hit a patrol boat is more easy. The only problem is this as a one-point ship. Even if the submarine can sink this one-point patrol ship, you lost the ship, but it's easy to replace. You will not miss it. So far, with the Japanese, I really have a problem with the numbers of destroyers. Normally, I have the limitation. I have enough cruisers and battleships and carriers, but I simply lack the numbers of destroyers. So I hope that I will not lose in the next coming months too many destroyers. Or I must maybe change my setup. So far I always use 2 capital ships and 4 to 6 destroyers. And this means that 2 or 3 cruisers or battleships are normally always in harbor because they have no escort destroyers. But the advantage is that you always can keep some capital ships in backup for emergency situation And some capital ships are always normally under maintenance, repair, something like this. Okay, here we find an enemy P40. I don't know how many we damaged already, but we hope still to really get rid of them. So we must not only damage them, we must force them to kill them like this. This is fine. Or at least we force them that the enemy airplane make a crash landing. But overall I would say the air war in China is easy going, no real big trouble. Very light losses. Most of the losses we have, I think, only by operational losses like landing accidents and something pilot mistake. Okay, now we bring the Oscars back on the skies of Rangoon. And we can see that we outnumber Dojo's fighters with 1 to 4 or something. And we just saw that the P40 make a hit on our Oscar, but our Oscar was in this case somehow lucky. Because normally the Oscars they have no armor and they have very low hit points, so a hit of on our airplane normally always means automatically kill or at least return to base. But in this case the damage must be very light. And we just hit him and he was forced to return. But return, I don't know. I think it's like 20% or 25%. If you force the enemy plane to return, I would say 70 to 80% the airplane will only be damaged, need 1-2 days to repair and then it's back online. And only 20 to 30% maybe the airplane make a crash landing or is too damaged and written off. Now our Oscar must return. And we have the disadvantage that we must return 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes. So 4 hexes, 4 times the check with the airplane had to make the check if it's still possible to operate. And if on the way back the check is failing, then normally our pilot must jump out of the airplane. Then the airplane is lost and the pilot is somewhere no man's land. And then it's normally the next check. If the pilot can return to base, yes or no. So, long distance attacks have simply this higher losses on the way back. If you have damaged machines, the tendency that a damaged machine can return is simply smaller if the distance is higher. Especially if you have extended range. Extended range is, I think, the chance is even higher that something happened because your pilot is also tired. And of course, this is always not the best. So officially we have here nothing. Later in the end of the turn we can check how is the air war finally for this turn the result. Okay, nothing. So we had no navy engagement, only some submarine activity. Okay, here I now use my navy bombers to give some let's say something like a support attack. And you can see that there's still a lot of flak, so the units still have supplies. So far the units in Bataan, the Americans, are not starving. And I come very high at 17,000, so only the super heavy flak guns can attack us. But we also, it's hard to hit them. They are in some, I think it's jungle, and they have fortresses, so they have defense set up. So yeah, that is not the best situation to really use a lot of ground attack. You can do it more primary, so the enemy is burning supplies. In this case, you can maybe do it because there is a limited number of supplies the allies have. So your attack is more or less primary to burn enemy supplies and not to hurt him directly. If it makes sense, I think I only did this 1 or 2 turns and then I stop it because it's not burn so many supplies for the enemies, and I don't want to lose this elite navy bombers. Their purpose is finding enemy ships and sink them. This ground attack stuff is only support. The army bombers are much better for this. Firstly, they have simply other skill settings. The army bombers, they only train ground attack, airfield attack. And the navy bombers, they normally must learn navy attack, torpedo attack, scouting. Yeah, these 3 skills you better learn with the navy torpedo bomber. Because the navy torpedo bomber can only use the torpedo skill if he have a torpedo. Sometimes they don't have torpedoes, so then he will use a bomb attack. Then this is the other skill. And then you can have still the level attack, navy level attack normally, like 8,000 feet or something. And if you go under 2,000 feet, then it's a low level attack. So this is also other skill. A torpedo attack is automatically always a low level attack, but it's the skill torpedo attack. And for the naval attack you have normal altitude and low level altitude. Low level altitude have simply a very high chance to make a hit, but the downside is that the bomb load is reduced, and of course if you can go this low, normally everything lower than 4,000 feet, is the damage by flak is much higher. So then you come back to the point. If you attack enemy cargo ships, then you can do it. If you attack something like a cruiser with low level attack, then you will suffer high losses. But of course you can compare. Yeah, you lose 2-3 more airplanes, and for this you make 1 or 2-3 hits on a cruiser, and the cruiser is maybe crippled or even sunk, and you can say still a benefit. I think this is more or less all the situation. If you have the numbers of airplanes and you can say, okay, you can waste some airplanes and you go for this more efficient attack with higher losses. But if you have a limited number of airplanes and you want to have your airplanes have very high skills and you need long time for this to train this, and you will maybe say, I go the safe way and I make less hits, but I lose nearly nothing against flak. I mean, this is only a decision for flak. If the enemy intercept us, then a Betty or Nell is always dead. There is no way that you can train any Nell bomber or Betty bomber that he can fight against the interceptor. If it's not the I-15 or something like this. Okay, but here we can see that this arrogant American cowboy fighters simply are no match for the skillful Japanese samurai fighters. It's not that we kill them in unlimited numbers, but this looks so far good for us. So the Flying Tigers are really not a threat. Not so far. I would say a very disappointment stand what the American Chinese Air Force show us here. But always keep in mind, even if the enemy is weak now, maybe he used wrong tactics, maybe his training is not so good. I think the airplane is normally not the problem because the P-40 is still okay. Never start to be arrogant and always believe that everything is be perfect, and only because today the Japanese are so successful and unstoppable, maybe this will change maybe sooner or later. Maybe if Dojo gets better British pilots, or if he gets experienced American pilots. I mean, the problem is that the Flying Tigers are normally the elite American pilots already, so I don't know if he can get better stuff. Anyway, the day will come that we also will suffer losses, and so I don't want to say too much. I only can say so far it was a successful campaign. Scouting. Okay, this is now the first carrier fleet is on the way back to Rabaul and Truk, and on the way I more or less organized a strike on the port and the airfield of Port Moresby. Last time we checked and we saw no enemy fighters, so of course I used some escort fighters. If there's a possibility that there are enemy fighters, then of course you must at least add some escort fighters. But you can see mostly we have dive bombers and level bombers, and we're making some runway hits, some supply dump hits, but I think it's all. So we don't really hit the base forces and we don't find any ships or airplanes, but most importantly we burn supplies and we damage the base. This also will require supplies to repair the base. We have a little damage here, a little damage there. So the Dutch subs are aggressive more or less. They always attack patrol boats and they're attacking destroyers. If this is the best to do, hard to say. There we have 2 hits now. I mean, these 1-point patrol ships are really only something like support submarine hunters. The main purpose is that they can locate something. They will give you active feedback about the situation. And this is a primary task. And if they have the ability to hurt a little the submarine, then it's nice. Okay, this is now more or less the next strike on Singapore and hopefully the last. You can see that our units recovered already a little, and there's really not much left. But I last turn I make a rest day, because 1 or 2 turns rest already improves the fatigue and the morale of the units very fast. You must give them only a little time to breathe and to relax, and then they're also willing again to fight for the Emperor. And I think this is now only the bombardment, and the bombardment already reduced the enemy abilities. Now we can see they're crumbling very fast.
Greetings, everybody. How's tricks? This is Orphan Anne from Radio Tokyo, saying hello to all of her dog faces and boneheads wandering the Pacific Island. Before we start the music, the Japanese High Command announced today that the ever-victorious forces of the Japanese Empire have captured Singapore.
Okay. We can see Singapore is finally, with a little delay, ours. And this is more or less the most important, because now we can bring our heavy units to Singapore to rearm. We must fix the port. The port will be... First we must clean the mines. After we clean the mines, we must fix the port. But I mean, this you can do at the same time. After the port facility is repaired, then we can use our... Well, then we can bring our heavy units in Singapore and rearm and refill all of this. So we can see that we had the 900 losses, but normally you can most see nothing really gets destroyed. So they are only disabled. So they are getting hurt, but they are still ready to fight another day if you only give them time to rest and supplies. So you can more or less say we lost nearly nothing, but we finish off the 17,500. So a very successful strike in the long run. I mean, if you calculate now, if we must fight the next day, then yeah, we lost 1,000. But if you can wait 1 week, then we lost nearly nothing. This is the attack on Leh. Normally here is not much. I also don't use much. It's a little... Sometimes you're lucky you can win the space immediately, and this time I think we was a little unlucky. Maybe next time. It's not really important. This is only 50 guys fighting in the jungle. Will have no impact. So this is now also the last Indian brigade part. So they are also finally at the end and giving up. We can say this day is now, or today, all of Malaya is now to 100% controlled by Japanese forces. So the campaign of Malaya finally finished at the 28th of January 1942. Now we have only to repair and prepare Singapore. We have to let our armies rest completely so that they can reinforce the units, so that we can now prepare to bring one army to Rangoon to start the war in Rangoon, Burma. And the other unit, or the other army will normally prepare to go for I would say to Sumatra and take Palembang. But at least 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, the units must rest in Singapore to completely recover from all these activities the last 1 month. Looks like submarine hunting again. Okay, in this case you can always see the green is always the attacker and the red is always the defender. So the submarine first attack our destroyer, and now, but he failed, and our destroyer now making the counter strike. So now we are on the green side, and we attacking the red one. The red one always takes the damage. The green one always strike. Yeah, but he sent 4 torpedoes and hit nothing, and we throw death trousers in the water, but also hit nothing. So nothing against nothing. This is now the submarine armada east or west of California, or between Hawaii and California. Try to intercept cargo shipping. But we found the cargo ship, but before we can attack the cargo ship, the enemy escort ship found our destroyer. So this is, I think, like a first there's the check. Okay, the submarine find the enemy task force. Then the submarine captain must decide where he won't go. I think in this case he won't go for the cargo ship. But then the check is coming. Okay, is there an enemy escort ship? Yes or no? If there's an escort ship, this escort ship try to intercept or find this submarine. And in this case, simply our captain finds a cargo ship, but the enemy destroyer captain was possible to intercept. And then this is this combination. And here this is a bigger task force, but our captain was simply not ready or able to bring some torpedoes in the water. So now you can see these are SPD dive bombers, and this is in the middle of the ocean, so you can normally assume that there's some enemy carrier nearby. If Dojo now use carriers for submarine hunting, hard to say. We sweeping China, but find nothing. Okay, this is now the second day, so the second attempt. We still have enemy flag, so there's still enemy supplies in the base. Oh yeah, the bombardment, like usually. It's I only you can say, of course, this bombardment's burning supplies. If you run this bomber force every day on maximum capacity, you simply must support this with a lot of supplies. So if you want safe supplies, you can say you don't burn or you don't use so many bombers for active duty. You maybe let them more train, because training I think consume, I don't know, I think they also consume some supplies but not so many, and you also can get skill points. But of course, an active bombing mission simply support your effort, and it will teach a pilot faster skills. Okay, 4 more flying tigers. Yeah, the biggest handicap, I mean, like said before, the Oscars simply have only 2 heavy machine guns. We can kill the enemy fighter, but often we have simply the problem that the enemy fighter have armor, so our bullet will hit and hurt the enemy airplane, but often it's only enough to damage the airplane, and often the enemy pilot can return to the base. If you have a 20mm gun, even the 20mm gun will make a hit, then the damage is simply often so critical that the pilot cannot more return, and often there's only a hit is a kill. So the Zero often have this more kill ability, and the Oscars have, they also have the same amount of hits, but out of a hit we don't get so often a kill. And this problem with the Oscars will never change. Only the last edition of the Oscars for 1944, the design of Oscar 1944, the last one, I think it's the Oscar 3, they start to get the 20mm cannons. And now everything is between this and the last edition, only 2 heavy machine guns, and this is really a handicap, that you often have this dogfight and often you can hit, and then the enemy only simply fly away, and 2-3 days later he's back. So this is simply the limitation of the Oscar. There is no way around. Okay, we kill 1 official, but maybe 2 more. And because Oscar is simply not so the killer, the option you have is to go for this Dojo. The Dojo have more firepower. The Dojo only is you need some months to get the Dojo. And the Oscar, I don't know if you, the Oscar is, it's not terrible bad, and the firepower is also, I mean, it's enough to hurt enemy airplanes, maybe not to kill them, but to stop them and let them return. And the Dojo, it have more firepower and it's also faster, something like this, but they have not the range. So if you want it a long range escort fighter, then you have still only the Oscar. Ja. Uh, Dojo's dive bombers try to hit us, but it's really not easy. Uh, I think, but I really don't know. I don't have the experience in the game for this. But normally, how you want to kill a submarine is normally that you have night operations, so the airplane must fly at night and need a radar. And then more or less the airplane can find the submarine on the surface at night. But the submarine don't know that there's an airplane coming. And first in the last seconds, 5 or 10 seconds before the airplane attack, it switch on some lights and see the submarine, and then in a matter of seconds he will start the attack on the submarine, and then it's a totally surprise for the submarine. This is what happened in reality, more or less. So there is no reaction time, because normally a submarine need 30 seconds to dive away, and maybe it might need some seconds to really go deeper. But if the submarine have 1 or 2 minutes before the strike, then normally it can often dive away. Okay, and this is now the second big battle. This is our Xi'an army moving northwest to simply catch this red army. This is the original Xi'an army, so they have some red Chinese units inside, but also some normal Chinese units. And to crash them. They get defeated here in Xi'an, but they have some operational power. You can see still one corps is still okay, but the rest units are simply now, they are only able to defend but not more to attack something. And I only want to make sure that this unit will not strike me and do something strange or stupid. Now these units are so damaged that normally Dojo must bring them back to some big city, maybe here, I don't know where he will go, but he must bring them back, and I think at least 2 weeks, maybe 1 month they must heal now. So we also can see here again, first the numbers 3000 to 7000 looks normally not so great. But the numbers are simple information. If you really want to understand this game, you must always check the details, and then you can see we lost nearly nothing. Some guys are simply unlucky. Maybe most of these guys simply only run in front of our own guns and then get killed by our Japanese own bullets, maybe. And you can see simply we have a lot of disabled units, but this is normal if you make an attack. This is, I think, also over a river, so they get disabled, they get hurt, but they are not killed. And you can see compared to this for the Chinese, most of them gets destroyed, so they are out of action. They need complete new replacement, and only a little stuff really gets disabled, and only this what is disabled he can get back in a big city. The rest he must also go back to a big city to get the supplies, but this needs simply much more. First there's a limitation. There's only a maximum number each turn a nation can replace some stuff, and secondly it also needs more time and it consumes more resources. A disabled unit to bring online is simply much faster and cheaper. To bring a destroyed unit back online simply is more costly. Good, so also this operation successful, no big issue. If you understand how to read this information, then I would say it was a very successful Japanese army turn again. And I think this is also the end. Yeah, it's the end. Okay, we are now in January 1930, 42. And yeah, the situation is that we cross here the river, and most of the Chinese armies run away, but there is still something left, and this what is left we try to kill this turn. So it can happen that they escape and then we miss them, but if we are lucky they cannot escape fast enough, and I think I mean, not that there are many left, but what is left, and if they cannot escape then they're dead. Here in the north we still try to catch up, but I think without our air support we are simply the same speed. Maybe Dojo is even faster, because our forces are a little more complex, and I don't know which unit is faster. There is no... can be that one of our forces is a little slower and then he's always running away, so hard to catch without the air support. But it's also not a big deal. So we also... We block the way to Yan'an, so he's starving out. We bring our units back to Nanyang, so we can normally try to intercept this army, 60,000-70,000 guys, and try to destroy them. I think we can see Dojo try to run in the mountains, but this is nearly impossible. To walk in the mountains needs time, and I think we can catch him faster. And the other big army here with 2,500 attack value is trying to intercept this. Now it's only 6,500 guys, so yeah, 2 units. If we can destroy them, that's okay. It's the problem is that here's no road, so it needs time to walk there. You can see in one turn we make only 12 miles, so we need 2 or 3 turns more to catch them. Yeah. And here in the source is Dojo's forces are simply always everywhere in the mountains, so we must try to catch them, but I don't want to walk in the mountains, so I must wait that he come out of the mountains and I force him back to the mountains, and this whole cleanup operation maybe need 1 more month. Okay, now Singapore, the most important battle. So we have to clean up these mines, so I will send some local minesweeper units. I have here some minesweepers I will send to clean up your mines, and I think we also have here other minesweepers. I prepare here a lot of minesweeper stuff. Wow. Patrol boat destroyers. They try to hunt the enemy submarines. This is minesweeping. Some cruisers, patrol battleships. This is a unit. This is a battleship hits a mine. So I was waiting here I bring the battleship here from Balikpapan to wait here that we can take Singapore and then repair Singapore. But the army operation was successful, and but what was not successful is the conquering of this in the industry equipment of Singapore. If we check now Singapore, we can see first the port is damaged to 100%, and the airfield is a little damaged, and the runway is just so damaged. This is the one information, and the other information is here the equipment installation. And then you can see that the manpower is okay, but the rest is all gets destroyed. And this is at the end a little based on luck, and I think also based on what type of defending units are in the hex. So far I know is if the defender have some pioneers so not engineers but pioneers with a tech value. Then these pioneers, I think there's something like a check for this. These pioneers try before they surrender or gets kicked out of the base to destroy equipment. So, and I'm sure that in Singapore there was maybe some pioneers, and we won the battle, and in the last moment they simply say, okay, let's destroy what we can destroy, and they destroy nearly the whole port, and they also destroy nearly all of the base installation. And there's also a factor of luck, and yeah, because before I get information, we normally don't make a shell bombardment, we don't use bomber forces to attack Singapore, so it's not that we destroy something, it was simply only this land battle. Anyway, the consequence is that now we have Singapore, but we must first repair the port, or we cannot use the port because the port must be fully repaired that we can really use it. The airfield is not so important, but the port needs maybe 2-3 turns. This is maybe still okay. The bigger issue for me is that the shipyard of Singapore is completely destroyed. I mean, then we must first repair. Then you also can see that one repair needs 1,000 supplies, so 50 multiplied 1,000 means we must pay now 50,000 supplies only to repair the shipyard. Then we have to pay 40,000 for the light industry, 35,000 for the heavy industry, 20,000 for the resources, because the payment price is always the same, and the manpower is only one. Okay, so it is only 1,000. But you can now say 50,000, 90,000, 125,000, nearly, you can say overall, and with the repair of the port, you must pay now 150,000 supplies only to get Singapore back online to be maximum efficient. This burns supplies and it costs time. This was a little unlucky because I think this is really purely based on luck, because there is no, the allied player or also myself, I cannot really do something. I think this is simply a check. There's an engineer unit, and then the engineer unit try to destroy something. And if it's successful or not successful, and how it is successful, is purely luck. You have no impact on this. And in this case, we take the base without much losses, but we lost a lot of supplies to repair the stuff. So it's it will cost us some time to repair this all. So we still maybe must wait one more week before we can really operate our units again out of Singapore. But we will see. Okay. The rest is that we're moving here north to clean up this last base, but I think maybe next turn. Next turn, maybe next turn we arrive. And maybe next turn I also start the first attack on Bataan. Maybe we can be already successful. We will see. Or I let them starve a little longer, because we saw that we still have flak. So means so long they have flak, they have enough supplies. So I can simply wait. Every day, every unit needs supplies, and he cannot get any supplies inside, so he's starving. Sooner or later. The rest is here only some small organization. We have here this base, and here's also a little damage, so we must bring here some more supplies. We have here, but this is all fine. So we're producing some oil here. And the carrier fleet is okay, back in Rabaul. So maybe I will send to Truk. I don't know. Maybe I keep it here. The problem in Rabaul is only that we have no fuel. But the fuel just arrived, so we just starting to unload fuel. And this is the reason why we cannot. There is no fuel, so we must wait one turn. then we already rearm, so the port was enough to rearm somehow. Yeah. This is only a port of 3, and we can rearm the carriers. I think we can rearm. We already rearm all, yeah. And in Georgetown there's a port of 4, but we cannot rearm the carriers. But why? And then the point is, it's a combination. It's a port size, and every port size have something like a points. And then you have a Navy support. And they also are points. And the combination out of the port size plus the amount of Navy support in the same hex will more or less, I think, is if you can rearm a force, yes or no. And then also how fast you can rearm. So this is a big Navy support HQ, and this will simply boost, or maybe you can translate, I don't know, I really don't know how, but you can read it, there's a menu, and for this they make a calculation. This 240 points are maybe roughly like 2 additional port sizes, and then it's normally a port 3 plus this is maybe like a port 5, and then it's enough to rearm. And in Georgetown we don't have this, so we only have a port 4, and then it's not enough. So, but we will now rearm and refuel everything and prepare and ship some stuff more still here between. And maybe in 1 or 2 weeks we can prepare the strike on Port Moresby. I will maybe make some carrier operation to attack and really completely destroy Port Moresby, because I don't really need it. If it's completely destroyed, it's still okay for me. I only want to make sure that he cannot operate any airplanes out of Port Moresby and intercept our landing forces. So, and if I destroy his space equipment, then he burn a lot of supplies to repair it. And then his forces are crippled and weak. Okay. This is now more or less the situation. We can check, because I think last time maybe I missed it, and this time we also don't have much fighting ability. We can see that we killed 3 air-to-air, we lost 1 by flak, and 5-to-5 operation, so a minor, not really a busy day. So we can say we destroyed 5 airplanes. 5 flying tigers are lost for him. And these are only some cheap Japanese old bomber, light bomber, not important. We lost only 1 Oscar by operational, so very light losses for us. And this is the most important. Flying tigers are elite flight. I mean, the pilots are maybe not dead, but he have simply not the airframe left to use them. So 8-6. This is a very, if you can see also the numbers, 735 to 411, then it's maybe very similar. 8-6 is like 7-4. Oh yeah, roughly. And maybe we can, yeah, and ship losses, I think there was nothing. Yeah, okay. Because we capture Singapore, all the ships left in Singapore gets automatically destroyed. And now we can see what we not find is, we can see all this shitty 1-point patrol, motor boat, whatever. It's not a torpedo boat, it's something small. Why building? Okay, so it was under construction, it never really was finished. Okay, and this one I think was in the harbor and gets destroyed, and the rest was under construction but never finished. Okay, but what we cannot see is anything else big. But if we can check we can see here 1 task force. And this task force more or less, I think, just left the harbor maybe at the same turn. So I will send a cruiser formation to investigate what is this. I simply suggest that, or I simply guess that this is maybe the damaged battleship and he tried to escape now. But I think the battleship, if I remember, had 3 or 4 torpedo hits. So I don't think that he can fix so fast the battleship. So I try to find it, and normally if you have a lot of flotation damage, then you're simply very slow. And the biggest handicap of slow means you cannot avoid torpedoes. So even if I use heavy cruisers, the Japanese cruisers, they all have a lot of torpedoes and they have long range torpedoes. So normally I will guess that we can maybe attack, and even if we find here battleships but with high flotation damage, if we can get 1 or 2 more torpedo hits, I think they will simply sink. But we will see, we find out. It's if our forces are simply out, it's only 4 ships. And we always scout the area, so there's nothing new coming. So everything is, and we know that the repulse was here, so the battle cruiser, and maybe some destroyers or something like this. And the battle cruiser have the power of a battleship, but not the armor. They have more or less the armor of a heavy cruiser or something like this, but they can strike like a battleship. But yeah, we will see. This is the only really interesting stuff for next turn, I would say, because our land battles are now always successful. Maybe Bataan, but the rest is still. Now we must first move our units again and get in a better position. Clean up this unit, kill this unit. Simply like this. Yeah. Okay. I would say this is enough for today. Not more happened. I wish you all the best. See you again and take care. Bye bye.